You're on it.
So, welcome back. Like Keith mentioned on his channel, I popped myself over to his gaff just to meet up because we've been chatting a lot online, haven't we?
Yeah, for a few months, good few months.
Good few months. And what Keith has done for me to try and promote my channel has been fantastic. So, again, he's asking for you guys, if you wouldn't mind. And we're saying you can subscribe if you wish to.
We're not saying do
it.
We're saying consider it.
Yeah. So
this is the follow-on.
Yeah. So following on from Keith's little video, like I was saying, you know, I went to Arborfield first, 8 weeks.
What was that like? Yeah, what was the 8 weeks? Was it? I mean, it fierce.
It was quite fierce. I mean, I was lucky in the fact that I'd been an army cadet for 5 years.
And how old was you at this stage?
I was 17. Yeah. So I'd been an army cadet for 5 years, so I knew what was coming.
You could ball boots.
Yeah, I could.
You could press your kit.
Saying that, I made the big mistake of taking my beret and my ball boots
from cadets.
And
they sussed you
And I laid them on the end of my bed. And my platoon sergeant was a bloke called Chaz Robertson.
Day one.
And he came up, looked at my boots. I was on the second floor in what was Rowcroft Barracks in Arborfield. And he opened my window, held my boots out the window, and he looked at me and said, if you can save them before they hit the ground, you can keep them. So I looked at Sergeant Robertson, and he went, what are you doing? Stood there. I pegged it off down the stairs to see my boots sailing through the air, hit the ground, and as you know, ball boots, when they get damaged, they just shatter. So I learned a very, very valuable lesson. But Chaz Robertson was, at the time, he was the youngest sergeant in the REME. He was what we call RD, Regimental Duties.
Yeah, RD, I remember hearing that.
And he was...
You don't have a specific trade as in VM or electric, but you could do your weapons training, drill, MBC, first aid, all that sort of,
But Chaz had myself, and there was a bloke called Mickey Jerome. And Phil Bailey. Now, I'm from Portsmouth. Phil Bailey was from Coventry. And Mickey Jerome was from French Mauritius. So there's 3 half-caste guys in the platoon. He's a jock.
I just thought you had a beautiful suntan dog.
So you can imagine the sort of things that Chaz... He called us the 3 jobbies.
Oh, right, yeah.
And one day he got really annoyed because Mickey Jerome had to go to the language school to learn how to speak English properly.
No way.
Yeah, before he could join the platoon.
Where was he from again?
French Mauritius. Yeah, it was his dad, I believe, was English.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. But we were out on an exercise during our basic training, and we'd been taken out to Longmoor Ranges.
Oh, yeah, Longmoor down past Aldershot. Yeah, Longmoor.
The DS staff suddenly decided that we'd be staying out overnight. So we didn't have any sleeping bags or anything.
Poncho?
No. We had a poncho, and that was your
poncho and hood in the middle.
So I found myself a nice little hedgerow, got underneath it, trying to keep myself warm.
What time of year was it, Nobby? Can you remember?
This would have been December.
Oh!
So when I finally got out from under my hedgerow, I actually passed out with hypothermia.
Bloody hell. Did you casually backed out? Or?
No, well, what happened was the guys around me treated me, made sure I was okay, got me in a recovery position, and they said to Mickey Jerome, go and tell Sergeant Robertson that Clark has passed out. Mickey Jerome ran into the DS tent and said, Clark has passed over. So you can imagine what happened.
You passed over.
Yeah. When Sergeant Robertson and the rest of the DS staff came out, Sergeant Robertson looked at Jerome and said, Jerome, you prat, he's passed out, not passed over.
Could you imagine the paperwork, losing a recruit like that? For, no sleep. Yeah. Imagine what they have now in EAS, don't they? Exercise Action Safety Plan. Health and safety. We had nothing like that there. Get in that hedgerow, son.
Yeah. But I met Mickey probably 17 years on from us going through basic training. Mickey was a vehicle mechanic. Oh, right. It wasn't a gearbox, it was a gearbox.
Oh,
yeah. And I I was actually going into the barracks in Preston to find Mickey stood outside the guard room. And like I say, it was 17 years later on, and he still couldn't speak English properly.
Oh, bless him. So this was in your, like what we call now phase 1 training.
Phase 1 training.
Soldier training.
So we went through phase 1, my pass-out parade. Proper pass-out parade.
Who come to that? Mum?
My mum, my dad, my brother, my sister.
Were they younger than you, your brother and sister?
My brother and sister's younger than me. Unfortunately, my brother passed away about 4 years ago now.
Did they
at the age of 59? No.
No.
Tony didn't serve. My sister didn't serve. No. Funnily enough, my sister lives in what was the old married quarters in Chichester, behind the Garrison Church.
Yeah. So you had your pass-out
So I
parade.
had my pass-out parade. But
did you know of it? Then you knew you were going to...
I knew I was going to Borden, but I got held up because my vehicle election course, they had to wait for enough people to build up.
How many weeks leave did you have between pass-out?
I had a week's leave back to Arborfield, and I ended up on fire picket.
The pick elf.
Yeah, with a Land Rover with a water pump in the back. I was doing that for, it's probably about 3-4 weeks.
What, every night or day?
Yeah, every day. Yeah.
Day shift?
Day shift I was on.
And what did you do yourself in the evenings? I mean, did you do what you want? Go downtown?
We used to go downtown. Another funny story about going downtown.
There's always a funny story when schools go downtown, especially when you're young and you've got a bit of cash.
Our sergeant major for our company, he came out one day and I thought I was dressed smart as a carrot. His name was Charlie Brown. And he came out and ripped me in the backside. Yeah.
What was you wearing?
I was wearing lightweight trousers, boots.
Oh, right, yeah.
KF shirt, the old scritchy shirt.
Shirt's abrasive.
The actual seams, spot on.
Yeah, starched to bits.
So,
Putties.
like I say, he ripped me apart, and that night we went downtown. Yeah. So we booked a taxi to take us from Arborfield to Wokingham to go into town.
Oh, yeah.
So we jumps in the taxi, and I'm talking to the rest of the boys that have been with me, and I went, that bloody sergeant major, if he gives me shit tomorrow, he's getting it, I'm going to drop the
I'm going to knock him out.
Yeah. The taxi driver...
17 years old, I've been trained now.
the taxi driver turned round, and it was a sergeant major.
Oh!
Because in them days...
He's moonlighting.
A lot of guys used to moonlight.
Yeah, of course they did, yeah.
And he just looked at me and smiled, and then the following morning, when I went on parade, I'm stood there, bricking myself.
Yeah.
And he just came by and he looked me up and down and he went to me, very smartly turned out, Crossman Clark, I will see you in my office later on.
Ooh.
And sure enough, I got another bollocking.
Yeah.
But I then went off to Borden, and to be honest...
How long's the course for the VM? Do you know how long the course
The normal VM vehicle electrician course would last around about 6 months.
Jeez, like an apprenticeship.
It's one of the things that I always say to people, if they're looking at joining the forces, you are going to get a trade free of charge.
Yeah, because I suppose in Civvy Street, if I wanted to be a vehicle electrician, I've got to go to college and for so long. I did more than 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I get a little bit of work experience in a week, and then I've got to find a job and be on bottom money as the apprentice.
Exactly.
Whereas you were on...
I was on, mind you, my first wage packet in the army, I went in as what they called a young soldier. Yeah. I owed the army £9. Because I'd had to join the REMI Association, I'd had to get a shirt.
Room damages, tracksuit.
I owed the army £9.
That's what I was going to ask you. Maybe some guys out there know this. When I was in basic training, November 76 into March 77, we only got paid about £7 a week, right? But the rest of our wage went into credits. And then when we had our pass-out parade, or the day before or whatever, pay office went bosh, and he got his, I can't admit, it's a wedge of money. Is that what happened to you?
That's what happened to me.
After phase 1?
After phase 1, and then obviously when we were in trade training...
You got your full...
Again, no, our money went into credits. And
for 6 months?
It was the same as yourself.
Yeah.
You used to have to march up for a pay parade, give me a regimental number, otherwise you didn't get paid.
Yeah, bang a kipper up. correct.
You'd have money in credits, and of course, when you came to your leave...
in that 6 months you had leave.
Yeah, if you had leave periods, you could apply.
I was going to say, because six months of training with not taking your credit, you'd have come out as a millionaire that bought an house.
But,
all right, that's cool. So that was good. The VM course, did it phase you at all? Did you struggle with it? The vehicle
electrician course, I was basically conned.
Why?
Because when I'd been in Sutton Coldfield and they mentioned electrician, I thought domestic household stuff.
Oh, you didn't know his vehicle?
Then I got to Borden and they started mentioning fixing in vehicles. I was like,
what?
What, we do this as well?
That was all you could do.
Yeah, and then I got told that the electrician course was Royal Engineers.
Yes.
Yeah, and the vehicle electrician course was REME. But as part of the VE course, you did a little bit of household installation.
Did you?
Yeah, so that came in good stead later on in my career.
Yeah.
So I did my...
You struggled with the course or
no? I did really well on my course. Yeah.
Do you think because it was at a good pace, the instruction was good?
It was a great pace.
Was there pressure?
Yeah. The only difference between, and I know because I became an instructor later on in my career, the difference between when I went through and when I was taking recruits and that through was when I went through, you had to remember the stuff that you'd learnt from day one.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we went through, when I was instructing at Marchwood, we had these phase tests, so they could do part of it, get it out of the way, then learn the next bit.
You didn't have to go back to that.
No, I didn't have to go back to it. Whereas we had to remember the stuff. Borden, if anyone knows Borden, it's excuse my French, a bit of a shithole.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was there anything near the camp? Was there a pub near the camp?
There was pubs and that near the camp.
Obviously
there was a cinema. There was a Naffy bar. We were in. It was the old Sandringham blocks in Borden.
How many to a room?
When I was there was 8 of us in a room.
I suppose you had Z-type accommodation, like a travel lodge with your own shower and ensuite.
No. It was an 8-man room, all sharing the
bed blocks or no?
Bed blocks were still in.
No, in phase 2, you had to go through bed blocks.
Phase 2.
Guard duties.
As well.
PT.
With an all PT stuff we do.
It wasn't
BFT,
any. So
CFTs.
the room inspections, all that didn't go away.
No, we still had room inspections. We still had the normal as we had in basic training. You know, if your bed pit was in rag order, it went out the window.
So still that going on in your. So that's the difference between being a civvy apprentice electrician, isn't it? You know,
so
where you can jump out of bed and your mum does it for you. With your packed lunch, you come home.
Well, that was a big thing that the DS staff, both in basic training and during trade training, said to us, "I'm your mother now."
Yeah.
You know.
So you get through that, Nobs. You big test at the end.
Yeah, big test.
Was it a test week or a test day? Or?
No, you had a test week where you learn. You had to go on various layouts, and they would put faults on various layouts like Land Rover, Bedford MK, RLs, 432,
armoured, 432,
CVRTs, all various CVRT, Stollies
were still in,
So the staff, most of them were civvies, and
were they?
Yeah. What they would do is they used to have these panels that plugged into various points.
And they could
on the vehicles. And they'd flick a switch and it would put a fault on there.
Mate, you got to diagnose
my Land Rover 90 amp test, I'll never forget it. The instructor was a civvy called Jimmy Edwards. Jimmy was brilliant. He could remember every single person that had been through Borden. Yeah. And I had a fault on this 90 amp Land Rover. So I did my checks and I went up to him and I said to him, there's a resistance between the cutout in the regulator panel. And he said to me, no, I need to know what the resistance is.
All right.
Yeah. So I went back, looked into the regulator panel and I could see something shining. So I got my little electrician screwdriver in there and I pinged it out and there was a little bit of mica. That I got on my finger. So I walked up to him. It's like an insulator.
Oh, right, okay.
And I walked up to him and said, that's a resistance. And he screamed at me because that had been there for nearly 20 years. No.
So here's another one for you, Nobby. Oh, not phase 1, but now in phase, what we call phase 2, so trade training. You're in trade. Did you get a driving licence in that period?
No, I didn't get a driving licence.
You're doing all this work, but you're not actually
I went to my first unit with no driving licence whatsoever.
And they squared you away straight away?
Well, no. Well, saying that, ironically, I met up with the bloke who trained me as driving just a few weeks ago. I hadn't seen Ozzy since 2014, I think it was. Yeah. Prior to that, I'd not seen him since 1981. But he took me, and it was HUV, straight onto HUV.
That's when you got to unit. But, so when you've done your trade training, you've passed your test, bit more leave. But you knew where you were going.
I knew I was being posted to 6 Squadron RCT workshops in Jalalabad Barracks, or as we called it, Jelly Baby Barracks, in Tidworth.
Oh, so your first posting
was with the RCT. Now, 6 Squadron is known as Phoenix Squadron because they've been disbanded and reformed that many times. It's unbelievable. I went there in 1978, and I was the 25th person in the squadron because, like I say, they were just reforming. We had one Land Rover, an old 10-ton knocker.
Oh, the old knocker with the handbrake you pumped up,
and a Scammell 6x6 wrecker, and that's all we had.
That's all you... What, the Remy had that?
No, that was the squadron. That's all they had at the time.
RCT squadron? Yeah. They sent drivers out.
Over periods, what we did was we built up, we got various other knockers come in, Land Rovers, RLs. But this Scammell 6x6 recovery vehicle dated back to 1930-odd. Yeah. It did no more than about 20 mile an hour.
Flat out down there with a wind behind it.
Yeah, with a wind behind it. But when I first got to Tidworth, I walked into the workshops, fresh out of training, young craftsman.
Immaculate.
Yeah. And I walked into the workshops and I was met by the metalsmith corporal, whose name was Doc Sysons. His real name's Trevor. And if you ever see this, mate, get in touch with me.
Send him an email or send me an email on my channel.
But I met Trevor and he went to me, "Who are you then?" And of course I stood rigidly to attention because that's what you do.
It's God, isn't he?
And I went, "Craftsman Clark, Corporal." And he looked me square in the eyes and he said to me, "Your name from now on will be Nigger."
No way.
Nigga. It wasn't racist, it was a nickname.
Well, but I mean...
But this was in 70s.
I get that. But did you
I accepted it.
You didn't think anything
I had it in big white letters on my toolbox. I was proud as punch of it. Yeah. Even to the point that the OC was a bloke called Major Alistair Morrison. He was the OC of 6 Squadron. Even he used to call me Craftsman Nigger.
Because I suppose, I can't remember it, but I'd imagine back then it was still a derogatory word. But no one said to you, you're right about this.
Yeah, no. It was a case of, I just accepted it. And it's funny, when I met Ozzy in 2014, like I say, but prior to that, I hadn't seen him since 1981.
Yeah.
I went to his house down near Glastonbury. And he was stood talking to his next door neighbour. And at the time he had a black Labrador. And I got out of the van to walk up the pathway, and Ozzy looked at his Labrador and went, "Go get the nigger." Right?
No.
His next door neighbour was like,
"Oh, I'd have died." I mean, you can't.
And I walked out and I went to Ozzy, "Come here, give me a big hug, mate." And we hugged. And I looked at his next door neighbour. I said, "He's not being racist, mate. No, it's all he's ever known me as."
Yeah.
And there's blokes, even today, will call me nigger. When I was a cadet, I was called Chalky.
Oh, mate, I'd have cringed at, even now I'm cringing at.
But
So you get to your first squadron. How long are you there for?
I was there for 3 years.
And did you do any tours?
It wasn't a tour. During the petrol tanker strike.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had to deliver fuel
78, 79.
Yeah, we had to deliver fuel to Northern Ireland. To all the
so you got
bases in Northern Ireland. Yeah.
Ferry across the Larne.
Yeah.
And then drive
We got
down.
off and
mate.
Here I am.
So you're a bomb.
1890.
You're driving was you driving it? Or?
No, I was crewing.
Mate, tooled up, flat jacket.
The biggest target the IRA could probably ever hit.
You must have had a massive escort of armoured vehicles.
But we had, I'll never forget, we were driving through Belfast, And the vehicle in front of me, it was a Foden TTF. By this time, we'd managed to get Fodens to replace the old knockers.
Yeah.
And it was a Foden TTF, and the vehicle in front of me suddenly just stopped on a dime. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what? So I've got my SLR out, you know. Yeah. I've cocked it, I'm ready.
Did you get any or NITAT training, as it was then, before you deployed?
Yeah, we went down to Lid.
High,
yeah.
3 months or whatever it was, NITAT training, yeah.
But what it was, the vehicle in front of me, a young kid had run out and thrown a brick at the window. Now, we had cages across the front screens, but he'd thrown a brick at the window. Well, the driver of the vehicle stopped his vehicle, got out of the vehicle, grabbed this kid and gave him a clip round the ear. Yeah. But like I say, when we came back from
so you went out, you just delivered the fuel. We delivered
the fuel. We were out there we were out there for about a week.
So it wasn't a medal tour? No, you didn't get, no.
No, okay. I've not got a GSM.
You didn't get it?
No, because we were only there for a week.
You got 30 days, wasn't it? I think, oh, mate, you missed out on the GSM.
But when we came back, the petrol tanker strike had finished. And we'd been to, at the time, the fuel depot was at a place called Westmereton. So we'd been to Westmereton, refuelled the tankers, ready to rock and roll, probably go back out to Northern Ireland or probably go and fill up the garrisons in the UK.
Oh, so you're only filling up the military POL points?
Yeah, military POL points. When we got back to Tidworth, we got told that the petrol tanker strike had finished.
Brilliant.
So here we are with all these TTFs, we're fuelling them. Yeah, now we've already been round and fueled up
everyone up. Everyone's topped up.
So we got all this fuel, and we were told, or the troops sergeant was told, to find a way of disposing of it. Take it back to Westmereton, do whatever.
Dispose of it.
We pulled up. There's a lay-by not far from Stonehenge on the A303.
I know it. Yeah.
We pulled into the lay-by, and out of our ration boxes, we made a sign saying fuel for sale.
And
we sold it. Yeah. Wow. All these civic cars were running on
and you
army
got pumps,
fuel.
So you got proper pumps.
Yeah, proper pumps.
Just petrol, not diesel.
We had petrol and diesel.
Oh, and diesel. Yeah.
When we got back to Tidworth, back to Jelly Baby Barracks, the OC asked the troop sergeant, where's the fuel? What have you done with it? And the troop sergeant sort of looked at him, and the OC said, well, what have you done? So the troop sergeant admitted what had happened. Yeah, and we were told that we could keep half the proceeds for us that had the nonce to do it, and the others went into squadron funds.
Brilliant. Brilliant. You imagine it happening now.
You wouldn't get away with it.
So,
but from there,
that was your Tidworth posting still.
Yeah, whilst I was in Tidworth, I got posted out to, or the squadron got posted out to Cyprus to do UNFICIP tour, Cyprus tour.
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months out there.
Sunshine military. Get your first gong.
Yeah, I got taken out there, and I was in the UN workshops in Nicosia in Blueberry Camp, as it was called.
Blueberry, yeah.
But the problem was they'd already got 2 civilian electricians
working
in the
peanuts.
workshops. Yeah, so I was redundant. Yeah.
Down the beach.
Well, what it was, we were going down the beach of a weekend, but I'm one of these people, I can't sit on a beach all day.
No, you got
I've got to be doing something. Now, prior to me going to Cyprus, I got into skydiving. Mm-hmm. And that was, again,
You've done that
thanks
when you was
to,
in the army. You've done that at Tidworth then.
Yeah.
Down
and that was thanks to...
no, not Middlewallop.
No, Netherhaven.
Netherhaven.
But I actually did my jumps course at Weston-on-the-Green. Yeah. But it was all thanks to Doc Sysons, the metalsmith. He bet me and the vehicle mechanic, Kenny Alcock, I bet you wouldn't do this course. So me and Kenny signed up for it. Yeah, we did the course. Doc bottled it out.
How long was the course?
Course was 2 weeks. I loved every minute of it. Throwing myself out of planes. It was static line. I loved every minute of it. After I'd come back from Weston-on-the-Green, prior to going to Cyprus, I then went jumping at Netherhaven, because Netherhaven was just down the road.
Yeah. Army Air Corps.
Yeah, so I used to go down there and jump out of planes at Netherhaven. But when I got to Cyprus, like I say, I was redundant. And I'd gone down to the parachute centre at Pergamos Camp in Decatur. Yeah, so I was going down there of weekends once I got bored of sitting on the beach. And I was jumping.
Did you have to pay for that? Or?
Yeah, well, it was very little that you had to pay out, especially over weekends. But while I was there, I mentioned to the chief instructor, a bloke called Mick Winwood, who was the chief instructor at Cyprus Parachute Centre. He was a member of the Flying Bugles, or the Tumbling Trumpets, as we used to call them.
That would have been the light infantry.
Yeah, light infantry 340.
Yeah.
But I mentioned to Mick that I was redundant in Nicosia. And he said to me, well, why don't you see if you can get a stint down here? So I went back to Nicosia, spoke to the admin officer, and he said, well, we've got nothing here for you. Why don't you go down there for a month?
What?
Yeah. And,
oh, no, you fell on your feet.
And then come back. So I went down for a month. I then rang him up after a month and I said, do you still need me back there? No, stay there. My 6-month tour in Cyprus, 4 months of it, I spent at the parachute centre.
No stagging on, no patrolling. You have to do any of that.
In fact, I'll have to post the pictures. I've got an afro like this.
No way.
Because I didn't have to have haircuts or nothing. Yeah.
You went local.
Oh, I was.
Brilliant.
But while I was down there, I gained my Category 8 rating in parachuting. What you do is you go to right, and I'm doing free fall. I'm falling from 12,000 feet. The only thing I had left to do was do formation flying, where everyone links up.
Stack up and that,
yeah. But when I went for the medal parade, there was myself and another lad from the RCT. We were the first UN soldiers to do a parachute display over Cyprus carrying the UN flag.
Wow. Who had the flag?
Me and Mick Ellingworth. Yeah, we held it between us, got the UN flag, had photographs of the lot.
Oh, mate. Was it strapped to your leg or something?
No, we actually held on to it.
And then you pulled your chute?
Yeah, pulled your chute,
then? You held onto the flag?
Well, it's actually attached to your strap.
Yeah.
But
brilliant.
While I was down there, I met a great bunch of skydiving lads, a lot of the Red Devils freefall team, who I'm still friends with now. And funnily enough, there's a guy that, I go to the Veterans Hub in Loughborough.
Yeah.
One of these guys was part of the Royal Engineers freefall team.
Right.
And he knows one of the guys that I used to jump with in Cyprus and in Germany. Yeah. But when I went on the medal parade, Mick Ellingworth was stood next to me. And again, Major Morrison came along with the tray of medals.
Yeah.
And he looked at the two of us and he went, do you get one each or one between the two of you?
Oh!
So that was my first gong.
Yeah, so back to Tidworth.
Back to Tidworth.
And then...
something traumatic happened to me when I got back to Tidworth.
You don't have to talk about it.
No, I want to talk about it because I want to mention his name.
Okay.
Yeah, when I got back to Tidworth, there was a young craftsman just come out of training called Andrew Vine.
You're still a craftsman
No, I was a Lance Corporal.
Oh, you're Lance Corporal now.
But young Andrew Vine, or Brummy Vine as we called him, this was 1981.
81.
He'd moved into my bed space while I was away. What? So of course I rocks up, turfed him out.
What are you doing in my bed?
We became such good friends that Brummy asked me to be best man at his wedding the following year. Mm-hmm. And just prior to us going to his wedding, we went on an adventure training exercise down in Dartmoor at a place called Tavistock.
Right. I've been to Dartmoor.
And we were on the beach down near Tavistock and we were doing canoeing. Yeah, and
big adventure training.
Oh, big adventure training. We'd done rock climbing a lot. I'm big into rock climbing and stuff like that. So we're canoeing and we're practicing capsize drills.
Yeah, Eskimo roll.
And Brummy's rolled over. Now, Brummy was a experienced canoeist. I wasn't. It's the first time I'd ever done it.
Yeah.
But he rolled over, and the next thing he came back up and he looked at the guy who was instructing us and said, I can't get the skirt off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the instructor said to him, right, go back over, give it a big tug, and you'll get it off. Now, the only thing that we can think happened was Brummy's rolled back over, but he's forgotten to breathe. But he's tried to take a breath as he's hit the water. So next thing we know, we've got him spluttering and everything like that. So we've pulled him out of the water, we've got him on the beach.
Quite quickly?
Yeah, we got him out quite quick. We're giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, chest compressions, the lot. Yeah. Dave Whitfield was our recovery mechanic, and I'll never forget to this day, and I mean this happened in 1981, I'll never forget to this day, Brummy involuntarily threw up into Dave Whitfield's mouth, and Dave literally pulled himself away, spat it out and carried on.
That takes some doing.
We kept Brummy alive on the beach for nearly 4 hours. Yeah, because in those days there was no mobile phones. There was no mobile phones or anything like that. So one of the lads had to run to find a phone box. There was a bit of confusion, and when the ambulance finally turned up, there was no blues and twos. I went ballistic at the ambulance crew and found out that what they'd been told was there's a body in the water, go and pick it up.
Oh.
So eventually we ended up with 2 SE rescue helicopters come and pick him up. The first one that arrived, the doctor came out, checked his pulse and said, no, he's gone. So I said to the doctor, no, if you feel in his groin, you'll find a faint pulse. And he went, what do you mean? I said, I'm telling you, there's a faint pulse. Sure enough, there was a faint pulse, got loaded on the helicopter. They took him off to Plymouth Hospital.
Yeah.
We left the beach, went back to the barracks near Tavistock.
And you're like that,
The Sergeant Major came out, and like I say, we got off the 4-tonner, and the Sergeant Major came out and said, I need to have a word with you, Corporal Clark. I said, what was that? He said, Brummy's gone. And I went, no, we've kept him alive. He's off to the hospital.
When he got on that chopper, he was alive.
He said, no, he said, when he got to the hospital, it looks as though he's just given up. Yeah. Now, like I say, I was supposed to be best man at his
young,
wedding.
fit lad.
Yeah, very fit lad. But the reason Brummy didn't want to go on the events training exercise is because he was worried he might break his arm or something like that.
Before the wedding,
Unfortunately, the day of his funeral was the day he should have got married. And I'd never met his girlfriend, Trisha.
But you met her at the funeral?
Yeah, I met her at the funeral. And
did he have a flag on the coffin?
Yeah, we went through the whole rigmarole. Yeah. Instead of being best man at his wedding, I ended up being head pallbearer.
So I take it, Nobby, his name is at the Arboretum.
Would you believe it was only a few years ago, because I thought that if you didn't die in combat...
Oh, no.
Yeah, I didn't think it. And it's...
anything in service.
And
illness.
There's a friend of mine who I served with the Black Watch and the Royal Scots, Rick Payne, and I met Rick a few years ago at the Arboretum. And I didn't know that Rick used to be a volunteer at the Arboretum. And we were talking about the names on the wall. I said, well, there's one name that won't be on there. And he went, who's that? I said, my mate Brummy Vine. He said, what's his real name? I said, Andrew Vine. He said, what year did he die?
81.
I said, 1981.
He'll be there.
He went, he's there. And he took me round there. And Lisa, my wife and Lisa will tell you,
I bet your knees
I burst into tears.
Yeah.
But that
awesome.
For me, and I will always remember it. Yeah.
But that is a good, sorry Nobby, but that is a great thing. I'm sure there's people out there watching your video. You know, that Arboretum, I can't remember what year it was first put up, but that's a fantastic thing to have, because obviously, every town or village near enough has got a war memorial near a church or in the town centre. It's got the guys that died in World War One, the Great War, and World War Two from that area. But then after that, a couple of names did get added for career and malaria, but there was nothing. If you died like your mate did, there would be nothing. And if you died in a road traffic accident in Germany, say, there'd be nothing.
I mean, there's not even. You get the what do they call it, DWC.
No, not
war commissions. Where you get a
war grave.
War grave.
Yeah, sorry.
Brummy didn't even get that. Commonwealth graves. That's it.
Yeah,
Brummy didn't even get that.
So he was buried. Would you know where he's buried?
I know where he's buried. I've been there a few times.
He's got a normal headstone.
Yeah, he's just got a normal headstone.
No,
I lost contact with Trish.
That was his wife to be.
His wife to be. I lost contact with her, but I will always remember Brummy. And like I say, when I went to the Arboretum and I saw his name, I just died.
Let's do a cheers to your mate Brummy then.
Brummy Vine.
Cheers, Brummy Vine. So
after Tidworth...
so that was all while you was at Tidworth?
Yeah, I then got posted to the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards.
And where were they?
They were in Athlone Barracks in St Largo. That was 1982.
1982.
Yeah.
Straight out to
So
Germany.
I go out to Germany.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old was you then? You'd have been about...
I was 22.
20, yeah, brilliant.
I'd only just
Lance
got
Jack?
married.
Lance Jack?
Yeah, I was Lance Jack.
Lance Jack, married.
But I'd only
oh,
just
you
got
didn't go out as a
married.
single guy?
No.
You missed out.
Yeah.
I was out there as a single guy. I was on it all the time. But lovely, wasn't it?
But I turned up at Athlone Barracks, Royal Scots Dragoon Guards.
The Grey Mafia.
Fantastic.
Was that the Grey Mafia? They got that.
Oh, yeah.
Grey.
We had to wear a grey beret.
Yeah.
Would you believe, even as attached personnel, we had to buy it.
You had
we
to
had
buy
to go to
your
the
grey
PRI shop.
Buy a grey beret.
When we went on guard duty, we had to wear a grey beret.
Yeah.
But you had to go and buy it from the PRI shop.
The Grey Mafia. What a fine, what a regiment though. What a
Crease was
regiment.
the regimental sergeant major, and I understand he was the lone piper on Amazing Grace. You know when Scots Dragoon Guards were number one in the charts?
I've got the album. I have got the album.
Malcolm Crease, I believe.
It's got the Greys charging on the front, isn't it? I've got the album.
But he was the RSM at the time when I got there. And again, I'd gone to a unit where I was going to end up being redundant because Scots Dragoon Guards, Chieftain was moving from being steam gunnery to what they called IFCS, Improved Fire Control System.
Okay.
Right, which is more to do with electronics. So I turned up and they were just phasing out
nothing about that.
vehicle electricians from any of the cavalry and tank regiments because they were no longer needed.
So who was doing that job for
That was done by the control equipment technicians, ECCIs.
Oh, right, okay.
So I spent a year with Scots Dragoon Guards.
Doing what?
I ended up manning and repairing the manned target tanks, the Centurion target tanks that used to drive around Senlager training area.
When Centurion was a rank, not a tank.
I've actually got pictures of me with the tanks. They were double skin armoured. We used to drive around and the infantry used to fire at us.
Yeah, shooting kit off the back.
The Milan it had a chalk head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it hit the side of the tank, it was like someone had hit it with a sledgehammer. But I'll never forget, it was one of the RSDG's corporals who was the commander of the tank. He was sat looking through the periscope, and the next thing, he just cartwheeled back off the periscope. And I thought, well, what's going on? And he said to me, look in the periscope. And in there was a 7.62 round looking at me. Because what it was, they had laminated blocks.
Yeah.
But we were out on the ranges on Senlager one day. It was blistering hot, and as you can imagine, with the scent, because everything had been stripped out, the engine used to cook it. So we had a break at lunchtime, so we'd open up all the hatches.
Yeah, vent it off.
Next thing we hear is ping, 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 ping.
Oh, mate.
Range control had not radioed through to us to close the hatches down.
Imagine that.
So the commander said to me...
What colour was your tank painted by? Was it red or something?
No, it was green.
Oh, it's probably, it wasn't...
There were red parts on it, which the infantry weren't supposed to fire at. But you know yourself, you put something red in, they're going to go for it. But the commander said to me, reach up, Nobbs, and close the hatch. I went, you bugger off, mate. But I only spent, like I say, a year with the Scots Dragoon Guards. They were a brilliant regiment.
And that's Senlager,
Senlager. I then got posted. I was supposed to go to the Irish Guards in Munster.
Right.
Now, by this time, I've now been promoted to corporal.
Corporal. Now the money's coming in.
I realised in them days, the Guards regiments, Life Guards, Guards, all of them, they would not accept coloured people in their unit.
It's not on their cap badge.
No.
But attached personnel.
No, attached personnel was the same because
that's incredible.
I tipped up at Munster, went to the workshops, and I went to meet the ASM. And the ASM at the time looked at me and said, "We've got a problem."
Can you imagine that, guys? You know, this is 1982,
83.
83. Yeah. You're not wearing a bearskin, you're not in the Guards, you're attached personnel, and you're the wrong colour.
But
that's
the regimental sergeant major of the Irish Guards came into the ASM's office, and I got introduced to him, and he said to me, "Nice to meet you, Corporal Clark." Corporal Clark went out, and the ASM said to me, "You're not coming here, son." He said, "He's off to see the colonel."
How did you feel about that, though, when
At the time, I was like, well, what's happening?
What have I done?
Yeah.
Was you aware what they meant? Because of your colour?
Well, the ASM explained to me. He said, "You're not coming here." He said, "He's off
Because
to see
of
the
your colour.
colonel."
How did you feel though?
For me, I'm a squaddy. I don't care what colour you are.
No, we
what
don't.
creed
We,
you are.
we never did, but it must have
hurt. It hurt a bit, but what didn't help? Ringing down in the records
racism.
Took me from the frying pan and threw me into the fire. I was posted to the 1st Battalion in the Black Watch in a little village called Verl, near Zost.
They were put out there for a reason, went out of the way. But the thing is, what I'm getting at, guys, and what I'm getting at is, I don't understand. I get it because they were guards, the Irish guard. I get that. Okay, I get that. They didn't want a black face for whatever. But you were attached personnel. Now, the thing is, when you go to the Black Watch, they're not really dedicated ceremonial. They're armoured infantry.
No, they were worse.
They were worse?
Yeah. When I snuck into...
Christ,
it was a place called Albahira Barracks in Verl. And I snuck in while they were on exercise up in Saltown. And
you're in the lines.
Yeah, I'm already in. I've made myself, and I got told that I had to go and see the Tara, as they used to call it.
Yeah.
So the Tara was a bloke called Chopper Proctor. He was about the same height as me. Yeah. And I went up to his office, banged on the door, and tabbed in. Yeah. And he said to me, "So who are you then?" I said, "Corporal Clark, sir." He said, "So you're the new Remy Clark?" I said, "No, sir, I'm Corporal Clark. I'm your new vehicle electrician."
Yeah.
And he said to me, "Oh, right." He said, "So where are you from?"
Portsmouth.
And I went, "I'm from Portsmouth, sir."
No.
And he went, "Right, no, where do you come from?" I said, "Well, I've just come from the Scotch Dragoon Guards."
What he was digging at is...
Yeah. And what he meant was where my mum come from.
That is outrageous.
I explained to him about my mother's heritage and everything like that. And he said to me, "You're quite outspoken for a corporal, aren't you, Corporal Clark?" I said, "Sir, you've asked me a question, I've given you the answer."
Yeah.
And he said to me, "Corporal Clark, I like you. I'm going to allow you to stay with the 1st Battalion, the Black Watch Royal Highland Regiment."
Well, yeah, I get what he's saying, but I suppose back then...
But what he didn't tell me...
It's unexcusable.
...was he was only there for another 6 months. It was taken over... The Tara's job was taken over by a called Starchy Smith. And even today, if I ever meet Starchy Smith, I'll knock him out. Yeah. He made my life...
He was the RSM.
He was the RSM. He made my life hell for 17 months.
Not the ASM?
No, the RSM. We used to have to go and do Tara's parade. What they used to do... Remember the guard reports we used to have to fill in?
Yeah.
And Starchy...
Being guard command, it had to be perfect, didn't it?
Starchy would read you the guard report, word for word, comma, full stop. If you got anything wrong or you abbreviated anything, you either got extra duties or, in my case, I got put in a pokey. I was jailed.
No way.
Now, I'm the corporal who's supposed to be the guard commander.
Bloody hell, Nobby. I mean...
And when the Black Watch finally left and the Royal Scots took over...
Did you stay in the camp then?
I stayed with the Royal Scots because the attached personnel stayed.
That's right, every 3 years.
When we were with the Black Watch, we wear these, what they were called tartan tourniquets, the tartan thing with your badges of rank.
Brassard.
And my ASM said to me, "I would like you to arrange the drive-by of the Black Watch as they drive out." Now, the Black Watch were highly sort of in the 17th century.
Cracking regiment, don't get me wrong.
But when they drove out, I shouted out one, and all the Remy lads grabbed their tartan tourniquets and ripped them off.
Whoa.
I shouted two, we all got zipper lighters out and set fire to them as they drove out.
Whoa. What were they? What vehicles were they?
They were in the civic cars driving out. The RSM obviously couldn't stop because he's behind the adjutant. And it was a couple of weeks later, I got called into the ASM's office and there was a letter from Starchy Smith saying how I degraded the 1st Battalion, the Black Watch Royal Highland Regiment.
How did he degrade you?
Yeah.
You know.
And the ASM said to me, "Have you got an answer for that, Corporal Clark?" I said, "Sir, I can give a monkeys."
Give a rat's
He said, "Well, I've been told to reprimand you. It's going in file 13. The Black Watch went back to Edinburgh to do ceremonial duties, and it was at the time when the Commonwealth Games were on.
Yes.
And I remember, I was in Germany watching the Commonwealth Games on BFS TV, and it was the opening ceremony, and they got all the athletes there, Steve Cram, Steve Ovett, Daley Thompson.
Yeah.
And they're all in the castle, ready to do the opening ceremony. And all of a sudden, over the TV here, athletes, by the left, quick, march. And it was Starchy Smith.
It was him.
And I will remember it to this day, seeing Daley Thompson go,
yeah, I'm not in the army.
Yeah.
I'm an athlete.
But like I say, the Royal Scots took over.
The good bunch of lads.
Oh, great.
Different altogether.
Me and...
Because the Royal Scots, any Royal Scots out there, first of foot.
Yeah.
Senior Infantry Regiment of the Line. I know you got your guards, but Infantry Regiment, Scots Guards, first of foot. Because I know that, because my regiment, Princess of Wales Regiment, we are second of foot.
Yeah.
We're England's senior regiment. Yeah.
But when they took over, we had a great laugh. That there was always banter going on between us, you know. Again, you know, they might call me, "Oh, you little black git," you know, and I'll give us good back, yeah. But I ended up with Fire Support Company.
Okay.
I ended up being the fitter section commander when we went on exercise, because our staff sergeant, it was what we call an artisan staff sergeant.
Yeah.
He worked his way up through the ranks to get to staff sergeant, rather than our artificer who gets jumped.
Yeah, course qualified. Yeah.
Mick was P7, couldn't deploy on exercise. So as a corporal, I ended up as being the fitter section commander. And one of the colour sergeants was a bloke called Davy Henderson. Davy Henderson was ex-Remy. Davy Henderson was one of my DS staff when I went through basic training.
No way.
Yeah. When they turned up, we were all in the workshops, and Davy Henderson walked in. He was known as The Rock. He was massive.
Big old lump.
Yeah. He walked into the LAD, and I watched people diving out the door. And Davy Henderson got all of the LAD lads, the Remy lads, on parade, and he's going down the line, he's going, "I remember you, I remember you, and I fucking remember you." Yeah. And we're all, because he was a beast. But Davy, like I say, he was a colour sergeant for reconnaissance platoon. Before I left the Royal Scots, he ended up in Fire Support Company Sergeant Major.
Right, done well then.
And when I went to book out, I went to go and book out with him. You know, like you do, you've got to get all the signatures before you was saying.
Get your clearance shit done.
I went to go and get my clearance shit done and said, "Come back tomorrow."
What? I want your signatures.
I said to him, "Sir, I've got to," because I was posted to Münsterlager.
Yeah, I've got travel warrant.
I've got to be in Münsterlager tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. So
what was that all about?
What it was, I turned out, and he allowed me to turn up the following day in civvies. And if anyone knows Albert Barracks, the square had a bank with steps going up to where the company offices were. And he got me to stand at the top of the steps, yeah, because Davey was one of the only sergeant majors that used to drill his company every single day. Yeah, and I turned up, and he just looked at me, "Wait there, Corporal Clark." So I waited, he finished off and he called me down. He said to the guys from Fire Support Company, "Corporal Clark is one of the best members of this company."
Oh, so he wasn't punishing you.
No.
He wanted to let them know how good
said,
you were.
"You are going to carry him throughout Albert Barracks."
Oh, wow.
To say goodbye. They had remember the old 6-foot tables?
Yeah.
They got these 6-foot tables on their shoulder. I'm sat on top of it.
And they carried you.
I went through the RSM's office, turned right, went through the Colonel's office, and I'm sat there like that.
You're brilliant. In civvies.
Yeah.
In civvies.
But I met up with Davey again during the Gulf War, the first Gulf War in 91.
And we get on to that in a minute. So all this time, okay, you've done the UN tour, you had a little flavour of Northern Ireland going out there. So everything's really cool. And then your first operation comes along.
First operation tour was the first Gulf War.
So where was you stationed?
I was with 32 Armoured Engineers in Münsterlager, Dennis Barracks in Münsterlager. Right. I then, again, it was a short tour
Armoured Engineers you were?
Armoured Engineers, yeah.
The bridge layers and all that.
It was a short tour with them because I then got promoted to sergeant and I got sent off to 15 field workshops in Eeps Lines.
Yeah.
In Catterick.
Oh, so you come back over, so you're up in Yorkshire. You're up here in Yorkshire.
Again, I was only at 15 field for a short period of time, and I then got a posting order to go to 39 Heavy Regiment, Royal Artillery in Dempsey Barracks in Senlager.
Senlager, so back out to Senlager.
Now, I'd been on...
This is MLRS, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I'd been on Spearhead Battalion back in the UK for the first Gulf War. So we were ready, you know, we're all set to go. And then I'll get told I'm being posted out to Germany again. So I get there, and my now ex-wife said to me, "Will these guys go to the Gulf War?" Now at that
building
time,
up then, was it, to the Gulf?
Well, the thing is, the MLRS had only just been brought into service. Well, it hadn't even been brought into service.
The grid square remover.
They'd been issued a few, and I said to my wife, this was in October 1990.
Yeah.
I said to my wife, "No, there's no way that we're ever
It's not
going
tested,
there." No.
it's not...
That was in the October 1990. November 1990, we're called into the cinema to be told we're deploying out to the Gulf.
Are you going, with what?
Yeah.
With them things?
Yeah. Well,
with grid square
we
remover?
fired a few MLRS up at Hona.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did the commissioning firing in Saudi Arabia.
And that all went cool?
No. We were firing at an island called Crab Island.
Just off Crabs?
Yeah.
Not the RAF guys, it wasn't your island, okay? Nobby was not grid square removing you.
But that was this island called Crab Island out in the Persian Gulf, just off Al Jubail. They missed it by 2 kilometres.
Well, missed an island?
Yeah.
They missed
it. Now,
how far?
This thing is a grid square removal service. Prior to us deploying to the Gulf, the commanding officer decided we'd have these T-shirts made up, and they had a big
square removal.
MLRS 39 Heavy Regiment MLRS grid square removal service. So, like I say, we've missed the target by 2 kilometres.
Now, obviously, there's something wrong with the computer firing system.
What it was I'd been put into what they called optronics platoon. I was working with the control equipment technicians.
So you're not fixing the truck, you're fixing...
I'm fixing the
This is software stuff, though, isn't it? It's computerised
Well,
software.
we have a what they called a Diana truck.
Okay.
Yeah, basically it was a box body which was a computer. And what we had to do, all the GPS systems, we had to take all the GPS systems and that off the MLRS and run them through this diagnostic.
And where was you at the time, in Saudi?
We were in Saudi Arabia. We were outside a place called Al Qasuma.
This is the build-up to the war, and your kit's not ready.
Yeah.
No pressure then, Nobby. No pressure on you.
But me and a bloke called Dusty Miller, he was the Eccy sergeant. We stayed up all night running all the boxes through this Diana truck.
You're on war footing.
Got the print-offs, went and saw the colonel and said, "Sir, there is nothing wrong with the equipment." So the colonel said, "Well, it must be the Met, you know, the weather."
Yeah. Well, I was in local, we had Met troops with us,
Well, 40 Field were firing the 109s on the same day at the same island and hit the target.
Ah.
Yeah, so
Nothing
it was all to do with, at the time, excuse my French, I call them planks. The planks.
No.
Yeah. Couldn't program it in
Big
properly.
fat gunner fingers trying to press a computer.
So we did the commissioning fire and got them up and running. And then in January, late January I think it was when the air war started. But it wasn't just the air war.
So where was you at this stage? When the
I
air
was
war
still in Al Qasuma, but we were moving up towards the breach.
Right, so you was like in NBC mode.
Oh,
you did all that.
At some stages, we were fighting to get the guys out of NBC because do you remember the NIAD system?
Yeah, I was going to say about
it. Was
do you remember the NIAD?
Constantly,
nerve agent.
It was constantly going off.
That thing was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because that went off, everyone's like masking 9. That's where you got your 9 seconds from.
Yeah.
You know, you'd put it out, the vapour would supposedly set that off, and it'd go beep, 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 and then we'll go, right, 9 seconds. Oh, mate.
But,
blokes atropine themselves and all sorts.
Well, we had one guy, he put 3 of his aquajets in straight away.
Oh, he's
it was supposed to be every 15 minutes.
It's atropine poisoning.
Atropine poisoning.
Did you, so just going off, so as you, Because you hear about a lot. I mean, I didn't go to Gulf War, but you hear a lot about this Gulf War syndrome, and I know there's also. Did you actually take any? I know you didn't.
I took naps.
But anything else?
There was other thing. We were given 3 injections in one day. One was anthrax.
Yeah.
One was bubonic plague.
Yes.
And the other one, they wouldn't tell us what it was. Yeah.
Because I've done a video on my channel about the nuclear testing, and a couple of people have said, "Yeah, but what about the?" And that's true. There's a lot of this Gulf War.
Basically, we were being used as guinea pigs. I mean, John Brooke, who was one of the other Eckies that was with me at the time, John was built like that. It was like a stick. And I woke up one morning to hear John moaning and groaning. I thought, "What's up with you?" And
sorry, yeah.
He said to me, "I don't know." He said, "But my arm." Yeah. He had a bicep that Arnold Schwarzenegger would have been proud of.
And that was the injection.
It was from the injections. He got airlifted out to Al Jubail, and they kept him at the hospital in Al Jubail for 5 days, and then he came back out to us. But we had various things happen to us in the Gulf War. I was doing reconnaissance forward. I was working with an AQMS.
So you part of the LAD? Or?
No, I ended up being seconded to squadron regimental headquarters.
So what vehicle was you in?
I had a normal Land Rover.
Not even a Snatch?
No, not even a Snatch.
Just normal soft.
Yeah.
Body armour?
No, we didn't have any.
No body armour?
Steve Clark, who was our signal son, I'll never forget.
Did you have desert kit?
No.
So in DPM?
Yeah.
SLR?
K80 turned up at our location once.
Kitted out?
Full, desert combats, helmet, body armour. Steve Clark, who was our signal sergeant, went ballistic. We stood there in tropical combats and everything like that.
Yeah.
But me and Brian were doing full reconnaissance for A1 and A2 echelons. And I'd been to the intelligence vehicle to speak to the intelligence guys to map the route that we were going. Yeah, I got told that the route was clear. So me and Brian trundles off.
2 blokes.
We'd got...
So hold on, 2 guys.
2 guys.
In a Land Rover. A normal soft skin Land Rover. Yeah. Not a Snatch. No armour plate. No body armour. In DPM kit, the Land Rover was sand coloured, or?
Yeah, it was sand coloured. That was the only good thing. Like
SLRs or SMG? Yeah. SLRs?
One of the things that I did say, because 3-9 were looking at taking the SA-80, I'd experienced the SA-80 beforehand, and I said that if I'm going out front, I'm not taking that piece of crap with me.
How much ammo did you have each?
Well, put it this way, my Bergen weighed so much, I used to have to lie on the floor, put my arms through it, and Brian would pull me up.
Did you have anything? Did you have 66s?
We had some 66s, we had a couple of Claymore mines.
You were fairly well tooled up. Yeah. But just 2 guys, Remy guys, in a Land Rover.
It was just a case of we volunteered, the CO turned around and said, we need someone to go forward. And I was okay,
we'll have a go at that.
Because one of the things, when the Falklands War kicked off, I was in Tidworth, and then I got posted at Scotch Dragoon Guards. And at the time, I wanted to go down and fight in the Falklands War. Yeah. And because I'd been posted to
Ascension,
the Scotch DGs in Germany, I wasn't allowed to. Now, for me, it was a case of this is where all this training I've done over the years.
A lot of us felt like that. Yeah.
But we were driving across the desert, and I noticed there were some spigots sticking up through the desert floor.
Mines.
And I stopped, and Brian said to me, "What's up?" I said, "I think we're in a minefield." Yeah, so he said to me, "Well, what do we do?" I said, "We've got a choice. We can either carry on and keep an eye
back on the tracks,
or if we can drive back on the tracks." But one of the things that we've been taught by the engineers was double pressure mines. If you've gone over it once...
armed it.
Yeah, it's armed going back.
That's the badger going off.
So we drove forwards. We got to a point where we thought we were cleared. Did a wide sweep out and came back. But I ended up going up towards the Mutler Ridge, what is now known as the Valley of Death.
Oh, on Basel Road.
On the Basel Road.
All the A10s took everything out, didn't they?
I was there probably about an hour and a half after the A10s and the Apaches had been...
Did that affect you in any way, Nobby?
It did. That's why I've got PTSD.
Is that what caused it?
It wasn't that. It was more to do with Bosnia.
Yeah.
But
that was a trigger.
That was
later,
one
maybe.
of the triggers.
So how far did you get into Iraq, or was you in Kuwait, or?
No, we ended up in Kuwait. We got as far as the Mutla Ridge, and then there was a ceasefire called, and we weren't allowed to move forward. I still believe, and it was the orders that came through from General Schwarzkopf and General de la Billier.
Yeah.
We were told, take plenty of bottled water because the sewage system and everything in Baghdad is knackered. Now, we thought we were going all the way. It was the UN, and even to this day, I will tell you, the United Nations is the most useless force going.
I served in Bosnia, I know UNPROFOR, and I know that.
I've never known anything like it. But when we'd sort of cleared everything, I used to do a thing called Nobby's Battlefield Tours. Yeah, so I would take blokes out in my Land Rover because I knew where all the dispositions were.
That was good training
of all the Iraqi positions. And while I was out there,
burnt out vehicles.
I found a T-55. There was nothing wrong with it. It had run out of diesel.
Oh right, not been hit with a challenge.
So I went back to our Liga area, got some cans of diesel, put it in the T-55, and drove it back to our Liga area. Just up from Mutla Ridge.
You drove
a
T-50. Nobby.
I then found out.
You're lucky no one shot at you. Did you put a Union Jack up or something?
I found out that the Queen's Royal Irish Hussars, the bloke who was the commanding officer was a bloke called Arthur De Niro. Arthur knew my dad really well.
Okay.
And I found out that Queen's Royal Irish Hussars had found a BM-21, which is a multi-launch rocket system. So I swapped the T-55 for the BM-21.
You were a Middle East arms dealer.
So the BM-21 ended up being shipped back to Germany. It was a gate guard outside Dempsey Barracks. Right. And years later, when 39 got posted back to Newcastle, I went up to Newcastle to visit, and the BM-21 and one of the old MLRS was.
What happened to the T-55? Don't know.
No, as far as I know, it ended up as a gate guard for Queen's Rotten Irish.
What? Nobby, arms dealer. You see, you know.
But there's so many stories I could tell, and I'll do other videos later.
We've got to,
but Bosnia, I did 3 tours in Bosnia: Grapple 2, Grapple 5, Grapple 7, which then moved to I4.
I caught that. And then I done S4.
That for me, especially the atrocities, was the trigger for my PTSD.
Do you know what I'm going to do, Nobby? I'm going to let you carry on talking on your channel about your experience in Bosnia, if you can. I know it's hurtful. Whichever two you want to talk about. And then I've got to go and I've got to go and turn my bike around.
But whilst we were out in Bosnia, some of the atrocities we saw was horrendous. You know, these warring factions were murdering people, and we are there as UN peacekeepers, and we're powerless to do anything about it. I remember I was travelling up on Grapple 7, and I'd gone through a place called Begonia, and the infantry that were there was a warrior came into the location, and the lads that got out of there were basically ash white. They looked completely drained. They had seen something that no one should see. And I got talking to their colour sergeant that night in the cookhouse, and he was telling me that he had to put a leash on his lads because they wanted to go down the road because they knew which warring faction had committed these atrocities and they wanted to deal with it. But because we were United Nations, we were unable to do anything about it. During Grapple 7, the Daytona Accord got signed and the Americans turned up. And the Americans turned up, and again, a lot of the Americans gung-ho. Now, there's a village in Bosnia called Tuzla, and I'd gone up to Sarajevo through Mostar, and when I got there, General Jackson, Mike Jackson, who sadly passed away just a few days ago, he was given the briefing and he asked us, gents, how many of you have come up through Tuzla today? And hands went up. He said, I suggest that you find another route home. He said, because the Americans have shot a groom on his wedding day outside the church. So we were the most popular people in Tuzla at the time. I came back from Bosnia, and then I got what most people would class a cushy posting. Yeah, I was posted to what a lot of people would have known as, in my day, 17 Sport and Pastime. 17 Port Maritime Regiment are down in Marchwood. Basically, they're the logistics people that move everything around by the LSLs. And the reason it was known as 17 Sport and Pastime was up until the time of Bosnia, Kosovo and everything else, they were very limited on what they deployed to. I believe they had a squadron out in Cyprus to do beach landings for the infantry that were the southern base areas. But other than that, they didn't do anything. So people like Kelly Holmes, Chris Akabusi, Nigel Benn were all posted to 17 Sport and Pastime, because for them to do their build-up training for the Olympics and everything, it didn't matter. You know, they could get on and do their training. But like I say, when I arrived there in '97, they became one of the busiest units in the British Army. Now, again, I got sent out to Kosovo because we were deploying some trains out there, because we had to start ferrying things around. Now, two of my electricians from 17 Port Maritime went up to Darlington to work with a train company to learn how to fix trains. So as the staff sergeant, I was deployed out there to manage it. 17 Port Maritime for me was 3 years working as what we call the Marine Electrical Instructor. And what I did was I used to teach the lads how to fix all of the landing craft, the LSLs, the working boats, everything. Yeah, so I worked very closely with the Royal Navy, even to the point that 2 weeks of my EMEC course, as it was called, I used to teach down at HMS Sultan with the Navy. My first experience down at HMS Sultan, I'd come out of the senior rates mess, which we know as the science mess, and there's a footbridge goes over the road to the training area, trade training area. Now, I'd spotted a load of matlows, stood to attention and just doing nothing. So I just carried on walking. The next thing I know, I hear someone shouting at me, and it turned out it was the Master of Arms, who's the Navy's equivalent, I believe, of the Regimental Sergeant Major. And what it was, at a certain part of the morning, they have to do what they call colours, and you have to face inland, yeah, and stand still. Well, I didn't know anything about it. So the Master at Arms explained to me what it was all about, and said, well, now you know then, staff, so you know what to do next. And I said to him, yes sir, I know what to do next. I'm going to stay in the senior rates mess until this is all over and done with. But I spent 3 years in Marchwood. I got various teaching qualifications because I was teaching City and Guilds standard. So I had to have a teaching qualification. So I went to Uphaven, to the teaching school there, got various teaching qualifications. I then went down to Chatham and I did the IE Regs course.
The Royal Engineers?
Yeah, with the Royal Engineers. Because effectively, an LSL... Up
the Harden.
Yeah, but the LSL basically is a floating house. Yeah, it's 415 volts, 60 hertz, yeah, on the water. So I had to learn all about electrics. Yeah, with the Navy, I had to go through their fire drills and their emergency evacuation. I've had to rewire in a safe environment, a ship's hull with up to my knees in water with 415 volts. I've had to go through the fire training where you've got the flash hood on and everything like that. So those guys that got hit down in the Falklands, I've got the utmost respect for them. Yeah, because even doing it in training, you brick yourself. You really do. So in 2000, I left the army. But prior to that, this is when my PTSD kicked in. And it was primarily down to the stuff that I'd seen during my military career. And also the worry of what was going to happen to me going into Civil Street. Because I've been in the army for 23 years. I've been an army cadet for 5 years before that. Yeah, so it was the worry of what was going to happen. And I ended up getting sectioned in Southampton General Hospital.
Before you left?
Before I left.
So you're a staff sergeant. Where was you? You were in?
I was in Marchwood.
Marchwood, yeah. And how did you, so you're there, you're a staff, you're doing it. How did you get to be sectioned? What
it was my corporal I used to work with, he went off to make a cup of tea, and when he came back, I'd just gone ballistic in the office.
Just freaked out.
Just
over
freaked out,
something,
yeah.
sort of trigger
something what it's probably trivial, but
yeah.
I got sectioned. I went through therapy, and in these days, there was no decompression coming back from operations or anything like that. There was no. You came back from an operational tour, and people used to say, "You all right?" Yeah, I'm all right.
And you get in, down a naffy, have a drink.
But after my therapy, I realised that I'd got this thing that was wrong with me. I ended up getting a job in Civil Street working for a website design company in central London. And I was living in central London for 5 years. But due to my PTSD, the fact that my marriage is broken up, I couldn't see my kids.
Yes.
I ended up being an alcoholic for 5 years.
And you didn't have many civvy mates?
No.
You couldn't relate to them?
No one that could relate to me.
No.
I was an alcoholic for 5 years.
Functioning alcoholic.
Yeah. But I hid it well. I met Lisa in 2005, and I realised that if I wanted to have a relationship with this person, that I would need to sort myself out. So that is why, and some of you may notice, I drink 0% alcohol. Yeah, I gave up drinking 20 years ago. I don't miss it in any way whatsoever. I have friends of mine that drink, not a problem at all.
Like this call sign.
I have people that say to me, I bet you don't have as much fun as what we do.
He does.
And I say to him, I do have as much fun as you do. Because I watch you lot make a total idiot of yourself.
That's what he does.
But Lisa and I have now been married 19 years last Tuesday. I have had a blip with my PTSD, which happened about 9 years ago, to the point that Lisa packed up her bags and moved back with her mum.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
And it was my fault. I call it my black dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I allowed the black dog to get off the leash and run me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I rein it in.
Yeah.
And keep hold of it.
Can I just jump in, Nobby? Because I think having a YouTube channel and talking about, things helps.
If you look at,
in a way.
If you look at my previous videos, I started the YouTube channel initially to try and help people with mental health.
Yeah, you want to help other people rather than yourself.
I want to help other people. Yeah, I don't want to see them go through what I've gone through.
Yeah. Well, that's really
That's why I initially set up the YouTube channel.
And it's good.
And then I had some lunatic called Let's Tab 59 get in touch with me. But,
what's that all about,
And it's like now, those of you that follow my channel, you will know that around about 6 to 8 weeks ago, I suffered a minor stroke.
Yeah.
And again, just a few weeks ago, I had a bit of a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've even told me yourself, Keith, that you thought something was wrong.
Yeah, I didn't want to pest you.
You didn't want to pest me, but...
You went silent. You went on radio silence, and I thought, something's not right.
But my best mate, Lionel Rogers, Lionel and I were in the same building together in Sarajevo, TV2, at the same time, but had never met one another.
Was you at Idlitz or Buckmere?
Eh?
Where was you at?
I was in TV2 in Sarajevo, near the Olympic Stadium.
Oh, near Zetra.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
But when Lionel came to work with me as a civvy, I realised that he was a squaddy, because you can spot ex-squaddy anyway.
Yeah, smell him, can't you?
We just got chatting, and I asked him where he'd been deployed, and he mentioned Bosnia. And I said to him, so when were you there? He said, I was there in 95, 96. I said, I was there in 95, 96.
Yeah.
I said, so where were you? He said, Sarajevo. I said, I was in Sarajevo. Which building were you in?
Yeah.
TV1 or TV2? He said, I was in TV2. I said, so you were there when they bombed the marketplace?
Yeah,
he said,
the
yeah.
mortar, didn't they? The mortar rounded it.
He said, yeah, it was our lads that had to, because he was directional fire.
Oh, mate.
And
that's awful.
2 days later, they bombed the road outside TV2. Well, I was actually on the tank park, and I heard the mortar rounds coming in. So I got underneath the 432 and just waited and thinking, if this thing takes a direct hit, I'm done for. But Lionel, as I say, he's my best mate. I was best man at his wedding 3 years ago. But like I say, I didn't serve with him. He's my best mate. And Lisa rang him up. He lives near Newark. Lisa rang him up.
That's not far from there.
Yeah. And said, Lionel, can you and Shana, his wife, come down? I need you to take care of Nobby. Yeah. And Lionel came down, as he said, you're not the Nobby that I know.
No.
The Nobby that I know would battle through this. But the stroke for me, I've felt as though my life has been taken away from me. As most of you will know, I used to tab all the time.
Oh, 10 miles. 10 miles.
I started the coast to coast walk. I did 40 miles in 2 days. Had to abandon it.
Yeah, you rescued 3 people, Nobby.
I work for DP World Tour, which is the golf channel, at the golf events.
He likes to spoil a good walk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I actually had the stroke while I was working for DP World Tour, but everything was being taken away from me. I couldn't play my guitar, which I took up playing 5 years ago. I couldn't go out tabbing. I couldn't play golf.
It's accumulation of build-up,
everything.
isn't it? Yeah.
And that has happened over the last, 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah. Really, bang, bang, one after the other.
So when this idiot said to me about coming out here, in fact, he asked me to come out previously. Yeah. And I said to him, Keith, I'm not in the right frame. We'll make it another day. But when he asked me to come out, and Lisa's gone away to North Wales for the weekend, I thought, right, let's do it.
Let us two loose.
So that is.
Well, there's one more thing. There's one more thing before you go, Nobby. Now, listening to you lot, especially you ex-squaddies, and if you're a civilian, you've had no dealing, or if you're an overseas soldier or veteran or whatever, I've got a few of our old phrases. I can't remember them all. And there's a lot of new ones now. I've been out a while. Nobby's been out a while. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mention a few and see if Nobby... Maybe we can explain what some of these... I've got to put my SUSAT sights on. Put your bins on. So, here's one, Nobby. Tell me what this one's about. You want pulling through with a Christmas tree, son.
Right, if you farted and dropped one and it stinks, you need pulling through with a Christmas tree.
Here's another one. I'm chin strapped.
Means you're absolutely knackered, you're on your last legs.
No, I've got one here. Well, it's an old phrase. It's on the bus, off the bus.
It's army life. It's always on the bus, off the bus. 1 minute you're deploying, next minute you're not.
On the bus,
we've all been through it.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait was a classic, wasn't it? Here's another one. E-springs. Whenever anyone farted...
If you farted, you had to E-springs.
Yeah, all E-springs.
E-springs, for those of you that are civilian, E-springs is when you clear your weapon, and make sure that there's no rounds in the chamber, you have a thing called E-springs, and it's allowing the working parts to go forward.
E-springs.
So if you farted, basically you let one off.
Somebody would say.
You'd have a negligent discharge, so therefore you had to E-springs.
If he was going off the toilet, you go, where are you going, Nobby? I'm going to give birth to an officer.
Oh, yeah. A turd was also always known as an officer, or, as most of us used to call officers, Ruperts.
Yes.
And a little tip for all of you out there, never, ever give a Rupert a map.
No.
Never.
Please don't do that. Please, whatever you do not do that. A horror bag.
Horror bag was the packed lunches that we used to get issued. It came in a brown or a white box or a brown paper bag, and you could guarantee there was never anything in that bloody thing that you
One bit of fruit, be an orange or an apple, wasn't it? That's all you got. Orange or apple, a packet of really naff crisps,
a carton of orange juice,
a little carton of orange juice, a blue band chocolate wafer bar, or a little penguin or something, and really naff sandwiches, cling filmed or something.
Normally curling up at the edges because they've been sat there for weeks.
I'd rather have a range stew.
Yeah.
If you want the ranges, and when you went down to breakfast or you went down the company lines or whatever, and they give you a white box or a brown bag, it's your lunch. Oh no! But if you didn't get that, you thought there's SQMS is going to come out with a big hay box or a Norwegian with range stew. And actually, this evening, because I knew Nobby was coming, and I said, I'm going to cook dinner for us. What did I do?
You made me a range stew.
A range stew.
And one of the things I said to Keith, is that a Recce stew?
Yeah, no, wait, what's that?
What's that? A Recce stew, for those in the room who will know it, is the recovery mechanic is known as a Recce.
Recovery.
And a Recce stew is the whole 24-hour ration pack thrown in. Now, in our days, there was none of this boil in the bag stuff. It was tinned. Yeah. So in there was everything. Your
tin of chocolate bars.
Your fruit salad. Your because you used to get chewing gum.
Yeah.
They'd be in there.
Wrappers on.
And even the toilet roll.
Yeah.
The toilet roll being there. Tea bags, coffee, the lot.
Yeah.
So that's a Recce stew.
Oh, mate. Now I've got some more here. Egg banjo.
Yeah, egg banjo. Now,
there's a contention on this.
Anyway, any guys that know about egg banjos, and especially the Remy, if you needed recovering,
you've got to knock out an egg
you
banjo.
had to make sure that when the fitter crew turned up,
egg banjo.
there was an egg banjo on top.
And what is an egg banjo for these you don't know? Well, it can either be 2 slices of bread with a fried egg in it, or it could be a roll of bread, or a bap, or a whatever you want to call it, wherever we are in the country. And the reason it's called an egg banjo, because it's a soft yolk 9 times out of 10.
And when you bite into it, it goes down your front, and the next thing
you like this one, egg banjo. That's where egg banjo comes from. For those of you that, I'm sure lots of you know that one. A biff chit and a biff wagon.
Biff chit is a sit chit, and the biff wagon used to be on
Folly on a CFT.
Yeah. If you couldn't complete the CFT, you'd end up in the biff wagon.
Yeah.
And many a person I put in the biff wagon, I must admit.
What about this one, Nobby? Look out, here comes a lumpy jumper.
Right. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to say it anymore.
No, you'll be careful now.
The lumpy jumper were the women
in the army.
In the army there.
A lumpy jumper.
In our days, to begin with, they were known as racks or Women's Royal Army Corps. But the other thing about a rack was, what do you do with the rack? You screw it against the wall.
That's very true, actually.
Yeah. But the lumpy jumper was the fact that they got boobs.
So the lump in the jumper.
lump in the jumper.
What about you're pushing your pull-ins?
Right. I was explaining to Keith, my wife, if she's winding me up, I say to her, you're pushing your pull-ins. Yeah, and pull-ins is a medical term in the military.
It's a MOT, isn't it?
Basically, it's your annual MOT. But whenever Lisa winds me up, I always say to her, you're pushing your pull-ins.
I don't know where we got that from in the army, but everyone used to say you're pushing your pull-ins.
But Lisa's even got to the point now, I mean, Lisa never served.
No.
But even she'll say, you're pushing your pull-ins.
Yeah. Right, Nobby, what was a duty clutch?
Duty clutch, duty Land Rover.
Duty driver.
Yeah.
So if you was duty driver, which was better than being on guard in a way, you was in the guard room and you had your Land Rover at 24-hour duty, I think.
It was normally 24 hours, yeah.
And if anyone had to go to hospital or any naff detail.
Normally you'd find that some of the Ruperts would come into the guard room and commandeer the duty driver to take them.
So we always called it a duty clutch.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you an old trick we used to do back in Germany. You'll know this one, Nobby. If you knew your mate was on duty clutch, outside the guard room would be his Land Rover parked in a little bay that said duty driver or whatever. And he'd be in the back of the guard room if he was there, the vehicle was there. He'd come back in off the piss. Now, the old petrol Land Rovers, under the driver's seat, used to be a brass switch, didn't there? And so it was left and right, so you had 2 tanks which you sat on. The passengers sit on one fuel tank, petrol, and the driver would sit on the other one, left-hand drive, whatever. Now, and obviously, 2 45-litre tanks, I think it was. 45 said 90 litres. And if you obviously run out of fuel in one of your tanks, you could flick it across and your fuel gauge would go back up there. But if you put that switch in the middle, all he'd have was what was in the carburetors. He'd probably get about less than a K down the road, wouldn't he? Yeah. And that was a good old trick for the duty clutch. So that was the duty clutch. Where's your gap?
Where's your weapon?
Yeah, gap, G-A-T. Why we called it a gap? Maybe from gat gun when we was kids.
It might be. I mean, one of the things, and even I was a cadet instructor.
Yeah. Get your gat out.
And I used to teach the lads that you never ever leave that weapon anywhere. Now we had at the time, I'd made hardboard cutouts of SAE.
Yeah, so they could.
Yeah, so they could practice.
And if it's arm's length away.
If they left it lying around,
mate, press ups. I've got a couple more. Chuff to naffy brakes.
You were pleased about something. Chuff to naffy brakes.
I'm off on leave. I'm chuffed to naffy brakes.
And you'd have a big beaming smile on your face as well.
Being chuffed. I don't know why we said chuffed to naffy. And of course, naffy, as you know from a previous video I done, was it's the Navy, Army, Air Force Institute, but it also stood for no ambition and fuck all interest. That's another one that naffy was stood for. I think I've pretty much done ones I've got. Fizzer.
Oh, the fizzer. That's in the pokey.
Yeah.
In the jail.
You're on a fizzer.
I mean, I don't know. Do they still do that now?
Well, it used to be 252. Well, no, I don't think you can now. I think they have to be taken. So I don't know.
I remember it was when I was with.
You could get banged up for anything.
When I was with the Scotch Dragoon Guards, I had to come back and I was doing a Centurion course. And I got to Goodslow Airport. And in them days, whenever you went anywhere, you had to take your full 1157. Number 2s, best boots for the lot. And I turned up at Goodslow, and there was 2 Royal Military policemen there. And they went, right, you'll do. Go and get your number 2s on. I was like,
what have I done? Prisoner escort.
So, prisoner escort. And I had to escort a prisoner from Germany back to Colchester. Now, I thought all I was going to do, turn up at Collie Nick, hand him over.
Here's a 1033 sign there, son.
No.
Bit more to it than that.
Oh, I got treated as bad as the prisoner.
What?
Yeah. So that is why, and I've got a long service and good conduct medal.
Oh, I never got one of them, by the way.
That's one of the reasons I've got it. One, I didn't get caught.
Yeah.
But there was no way I was ever going into Colchester Nick because I'd experienced it as an escort, let alone as a prisoner. Yeah. Now, I watched the programme not so long back.
Glass House or...
The Glass House, it was known as.
Yeah, I've seen that on YouTube.
But I watched the programme not so long back and I must admit, I was just a bit disheartened because now it's like a probation service. The staff are friends.
Oh, they're not even talking. They're not even respecting the staff.
And I'm like, this is wrong. I've seen a lot of guys go into Colchester.
They come out a brilliant soldier.
They come out Class A soldiers.
Oh, get promoted.
Yeah.
Not enough to come back.
There was a bloke in the Royal Scots. He got collie for duffing up a couple of blokes. He came back and he got promoted to corporal, full corporal the minute he got back.
Because... I remember they used to go through pretty much basic training again, and but also learning a bit more. They'd be actually out on the road with rifles, and they'd come back like doing a junior and soap card.
I mean, there's a lot of them came back with skill at arms qualifications.
Fantastic.
Some of them were PTI, cross swords.
They come back fit, immaculate, retrained, got their head straight.
But then when I watched that programme, I was like, nah.
I think it was rehabilitation back then. Now it's just kick gloves and they do, But it's very sad. I don't think I've got any more that we can go through, Nobby. So, I don't know. It's your video, mate. It's your channel.
Well, it's been a long one. I haven't told you my whole career.
We ain't got time, have we, mate?
No, not really. But I hope that gives you a bit of an insight. I apologise if it's long.
We don't care, actually.
Hopefully you've managed to pick up on a few things. There are some other funny stories that I'll do in another video.
We've got to do it again.
Oh yeah, we'll do it again, and I'll tell you about some of the blokes I served with and some of the hilarious things where One ended up on a 3-month warning order
We'll
because
have all
I'd
that
stitched
detail.
him up, and I ended up nearly getting a 3-month order because I'd convinced the OC that Mark Cochin was a racist bigot.
Well, I've invaded your channel, Nobby. But can I just say to Nobby subscribers and any of my subscribers, listen, Nobby's at 240 odd subscribers, I believe.
Yeah.
I've got 240, something like that. Listen, it's free to subscribe. Please, 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 do my mate a favour. We don't have flashy videos. We're not special forces. We're not all this.
No.
So we're just two ex-squaddies that just crap outs, the way we want to call us. We're nothing special. But please, you know, it really helped Nobs out. He's been through the mill. Yeah. He's had a lot of shit. Can you just click that subscribe button for Nobby? And please put some comments in. You know, Nobby don't care what you write.
No, I'm thick-skinned.
We're too old for that detail. I can't upset us. So please subscribe to Nobby's channel. I have.
Yeah. Have you?
Of course I have.
No, I blocked you, didn't I?
I think he did. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Peeps,
Nobby,
thank you very much for listening. Like I say, we're not saying you've got to. Yeah, just consider it.
Consider it.
You'll see there's various videos on there about mental health, my lollipop duties, everything like that, my golf. Yeah, so if you're interested in any of that, just click on there. And I will, if you subscribe, I will make every effort to reply to every single one of you. So,
Nobby, tomorrow's Saturday. You're staying tonight.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Saturday. If we should go for a little gentle tab and do a little video on your channel.
Yeah, can do.
We might do that. Yeah. Subscribe.
Yeah. Thank you very much, peeps. You have a great evening, and don't forget, let's tab.
Let's tab. Hey, Nobs. He's got to turn you off now.